Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Abundant Thinking. As you can tell, today we're not in my dorm. However, we still have a very special episode for you guys. We are having John Lee Dumas on the show. For those of you guys that don't know, John is the founder and the host of the award-winning podcast show Entrepreneurs on Fire. With over 175 million downloads and over 4,000 episodes, JLD has turned his podcast into a media empire, generating him over 7 figures of annual revenue every single year. Some guests that he's had on the show that you may know include Gary Vee, Tony Robbins, and Tim Ferris. He's also been on Forbes 7 times. In this episode, you can expect to learn the common mindset within successful entrepreneurs, how to find yourself a mentor no matter what stage you're in the thing that you're trying to do, how JLD stays consistent in over 12 years of him podcasting, his toughest mindset challenge, and more. Thank you guys for tuning into this episode. This one's going to be a really good one. I know you guys are going to love it, and I'll see you next Tuesday. John, thank you so much for joining me today. What was your toughest mindset challenge when you were starting to build and maintain your podcast?
Well, thank you for having me. We're going to drop fire and value bombs today, so strap in. It's going to be a good one. Number one would definitely be the imposter syndrome. I mean, who was I to start a podcast? I mean, I was an ex-Army officer who dropped out of law school, who struggled in, corporate finance and commercial real estate. And now I'm just going to start a podcast interviewing the world's most successful entrepreneurs. Like, who am I to do that? And that's just a real feeling and a real vibe that a lot of us have when we start something new, because it's a human trait. It's a human quality. I realize that now. In the moment, it's tough. But man, I look back and I'm like, what were you so scared about? And the fact is, it's okay to be scared. It's okay to have doubts and fears. It's part of being a human being. If you don't have those things, you're a robot. So if you have those feelings of imposter syndrome, of doubt, of fear, just look in the mirror and say, hey, I'm a human. These are natural emotions. Now, how do we move forward? How do we actually do something? How do we take action? So that would be the biggest one.
Sure, that's a great answer. So would you recommend then for people who are maybe in that spot, maybe struggling with the imposter syndrome? I know I was definitely in that spot when I was starting this podcast. Would you recommend any certain, mindset shifts or practices they could use to kind of help push them along further?
I mean, number one, you're having those feelings because you're a human being. Like, again, every human has those emotions when they start something new, scary, meaningful. If people say they don't, they're lying to you, and that's okay. People can lie. I don't like people that lie, but you can lie. People can lie. You are going to have those emotions. So if you're having those emotions and you're by yourself in a room, it is okay. You're a human being. That's going to happen. Now, what do? It's very simple. It's simple, but it's not easy. You put in the reps. You get up every day and you do that thing. I would say that to get over that feeling, should be doing as many podcast interviews as possible, as many conversations as possible. That's why I was able to win at a high level as a podcast host, as an interviewer of people, because I was doing 7 a week, 30 a month, 365 per year. I wasn't good when I started. I wasn't good after a couple hundred episodes. I got better every time. And then I finally became pretty darn good at my craft. And by the way, 12 years later, 4,500 episodes later, I'm still getting a little bit better every single day. I just started a completely new YouTube show. This is a video show. I've never done video before on a regular basis. And it's on a topic. It's just me and the camera and me talking about a specific topic. I'm nervous. I'm scared when I'm doing these things. I'm not that good at it right now, but I'm getting a little bit better every single day. And what am I doing? I'm doing it every single day. So, what is that thing that you're starting that you are excited about? Wake up every day and put in the reps. That's how you win.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I know even for me, I mean, I'm on episode like I'm in the 70 to 80 range right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I know even when I look back, I'm like, wow, I had no idea what I was doing. So I think it's so important to just give yourself that empathy and know that you're not going to be good when you start, but you're going to look back and see how much you've improved.
And by the way, that's a good thing. It's a good thing because every time you get a little bit better, you feel it. You feel it. I remember getting off of an interview like back in 2012 and then fast forward a year 2013, then maybe, and I was like, wow, I've just achieved the next level. Like I am no longer like holding a piece of paper, shaking and like reading questions off of that. Like I had to graduate to that point because I was a little scared podcast host and I was able to graduate to different levels. And when you do that, you consciously and subconsciously, it just feels good and it just drives you forward. So keep putting in the reps.
So you have uploaded 4,500 episodes, like you said. That's a lot of entrepreneurs. I wanted to ask you, do you notice any commonalities within these entrepreneurs of their mindsets and ways that they think?
Three commonalities. It comes up time and time again. Number one, they're productive. Now, a lot of people think they're productive. They're not. They are busy. They're like, John, oh my God, I did this, and this today. And I'm like, okay, but like, what did you do that moved the needle forward in your business? What did you do that actually is going to help you on your specific focused journey? And they kind of come up with a couple mumbling things, and then I just call them out. And I'm like, you are not productive because you are not producing the right content. Productive people produce the right content. Right now, you are being productive because you're producing the right content. I'm being productive because I'm producing the right content. After this, when I go and I run to the store to grab some milk, I'm not being productive, so I can't pretend that I am. Like I'm doing things I might have to do, but that's not being productive. Successful people are productive. Number two, disciplined. They have disciplines. I wake up at 5:30 a.m. every single day. I'm not saying you have to wake up early to win, but I am disciplined. I've set my schedule so that I wake up at 5:30 a.m. every single day. I walk my dog. I get outside. I'm having exercise, sun, fresh air. And again, I'm exercising my dog and I'm getting a nice walk in there. And guess what? That's part of my daily schedule. I am disciplined to that. And then the rest of my day unfolds in a very disciplined manner because I win tomorrow today. My plan for today was established yesterday, and I am a discipline to that plan. What does that mean? I am a disciple to that plan of action that I created. And because of that, I'm going to have an unbelievably productive day because I'm disciplined. And then the third thing, focus is my favorite word. Follow one course until success. Focus. It is a great acronym. I live it. I breathe it. All the successful people that I know in the world have found one thing to focus on, and they are obsessive about focusing on that thing. I didn't win because I had a better idea than somebody, or I had a better podcast than somebody, or I was a better interviewer. I was none of those things, but because I focused on it and nobody else did. That's why I won. Productivity, discipline, focus.
And when you say focus, do you mean from a niche point of view, or are you saying focus on the thing that you're doing?
Focus on the thing that you're doing. And by the way, that should be a niche because it needs to be niche because you want to be able to focus on something that you can become the number one solution to. And it has to be a real problem.
You've obviously had amazing success podcasting, 175 million listens, unbelievable. What has allowed you to stay disciplined over the long term?
Just my commitment to it. I mean, I just talked about discipline and what it means. So I plan tomorrow today. So for tomorrow, I'm planning that today. I don't wake up in the morning and say, what am I going to do today? That's been planned out at least one day. Some of my days are planned out weeks in ahead. Like every Thursday, I do 7 interviews. Why? Because I release 7 interviews a week. So I need to keep up that rhythm if I'm going to release a daily show. I stay about 45 days ahead. So if something happens that day, it's not the end of the world. I can take that and I can just make it up at a later date. So I have that buffer in place. But every single Thursday, I'm doing 7 interviews of entrepreneurs, and I have that planned weeks or months in advance. You have to be disciplined. You have to be a disciple to a plan of action. That's where you're going to win.
Before we dive deeper into this topic, I want to talk to you guys about the sponsor of today's episode. Oh yeah, there are none. I know I don't usually ask you guys for favors on this show unless it's something like commenting or liking and giving me your feedback, but today I do have something to ask of you. I have started a 100% free Skool community where I'm going to be teaching people how to utilize their mindset and go from having an ordinary mindset to an extraordinary mindset. Not only will I have courses and modules for you guys to watch, but I also have a community of people that would love to connect with you. If this is something that you think interests you, make sure to go down to the show notes, description, or maybe even ask me one-on-one, and I would be more than happy to send you this free link to a community where you can improve your mindset. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of this episode. Yeah, speaking of plan of action, what inspired you to write The Common Path to Uncommon Success? I know I have it back home. It's not with me right now,
Thank
but
you. I'm glad you have that. I appreciate the support. The Common Path to Uncommon Success is a 17-step roadmap to financial freedom and fulfillment. Now, is that my genius? No. It is the 4,500 people that I have interviewed over 12 years. I've learned from them. They are my mentors. And I took their genius and compiled it down into 17 steps that they used, that I've used to generate uncommon success. And so that to me is why I wrote the book, because I always have a lot of individuals that listen to the show, that follow me, that have learned from me, like I've learned from those before myself. And they may reach out to me and say, John, I have excitement and I'm willing to work hard, but what do I do? Like, what do I actually focus on? And before I'm just like, I, I don't know, because I don't know you. Like, I can't sit here and get to know, you can't do that. Like when it comes to like 10, 100, however many messages I get every day, week, month. But now I can just be like, here's the solution. Here's the book. Follow it. 17 chapters, 17 steps to financial freedom and fulfillment. That is my gift to you. And it's not a gift from this brain, it's a gift from the 4,500 brains that I've interviewed over 12 years.
and I also think that's so powerful because, you have so many different interviews and you take away so many lessons from different people. And you might notice that, in these 4,500 episodes, there's a lot of differences between people. They're in different niches, etc. But then you pick out this little nugget and you're like, wait a minute, this person is extremely focused. This person's consistent. This person is disciplined. And you take those and, you create so much value out of it. So thank you on behalf of everybody. You just talked about mentors, and I know I was watching a video of you on Evan Carmichael's YouTube channel, and you talked about the fact that a lot of people will seek mentors, but they're not in the same niche, if you will, or they're not in a spot that the people themselves want to get into. So I know a lot of people who want to start podcasting, even for me, what advice would you have for somebody like me in the position? Because a lot of people dream of getting to the spot that you're in, you're in the top 0.0001%. So what advice could you bestow upon me?
Absolutely. So here's the deal. People, for the most part, understand that mentors are valuable because it's very obvious. It's very obvious that somebody who is incredibly successful could probably give some advice to you that'd be helpful. But here's the deal. Elon Musk would have been a terrible mentor for me when I started. Warren Buffett, fill in the blank of just successful humans. Bill Gates, fill in the blank. It doesn't matter. They would have given me a couple of tidbits of like maybe interesting and helpful things, but they couldn't help me on my journey because my journey was what? It was very specific. I want to become one of the top successful business podcasts in the world that interviews entrepreneurs. That's not their area of expertise. They can't really help me. So, what I mentioned on Evan Carmichael's show, and I'll mention again today, finding the right mentor is not that challenging. What you need to do is find somebody around a year ahead of where you are right now, but is currently where you want to be. So find somebody who's where you want to be about a year from now. Why do I give that time frame? Because like frankly, to be honest, I haven't launched a podcast for 12 years. So things have changed. So I'm great at running my podcast right now, but somebody would be much more helpful that has launched their podcast 12 months ago and is now running a successful podcast in just 12 months. They would be more helpful to somebody who's looking for a mentor about launching their podcast than I would be, because they were just there. They know what works. They know what doesn't work. That's what I did back in 2012. I hired Jamie Masters of The Eventual Millionaire. She had launched her podcast around 2010, 2011. She was like 18 months or so into her show. And so she could really help me in that moment. But that's just the reality. So that's how you find the right mentor. You find somebody who's having the success that you want to have a year from now. So they're a year plus ahead of you. If it's 19 months, if it's 2 years, don't stress about the exact timeline. It's just, I'm talking around that. It's a little bit of an elastic time frame, but you want around that range because those are the people that are going to be able to help you most. And frankly, those are going to be the people that are willing to help you the most, because it's probably going to cost you some money because, time is money, and people's time shouldn't be free. It isn't free. And if they have a real coaching program or a mentorship program, it's super worthwhile. But guess what? It's probably going to be reasonable because they just started. So they're not going to be charging these astronomical prices. Like for an hour of my time, Like, I'm not even going to say the number because it's kind of embarrassing, but like for an hour of my time in 2013, it was very reasonable.
That is some of the best advice that I've heard, and I think it's very practical. I know Chris Williamson, he talks about this idea that you don't want advice from people that are 10 steps ahead of you because they don't remember what they did when they were in your spot either way.
He probably heard that from me because that is exactly what I said.
Anyway, JLD, thank you so much for coming on the show. Where can people find you at?
Listen, eofire.com is where all the magic happens. My show is Entrepreneurs on Fire. I wanted to just take a step back and thank you for having me on. I commend you for what you're doing. You are having an impact on people. So keep doing that. Keep putting in the reps. You have no idea what your effort is going to lead to. We might be talking a year from now, 5 years from now, and like it's taken so many twists and turns, but I can tell you it's going to be positive.
I appreciate it. Thank you.